The quantum shadow drive of the first Zarkon battlecruiser tore a ragged hole in the fabric of space, its obsidian hull gleaming with malevolent anticipation. Lieutenant Commander Emily Harrison stood at the medical bay's primary observation window, her hand unconsciously tracing the medical insignia on her left shoulder. The United Earth Medical Relief Vessel Nightingale had been on a routine humanitarian mission for the past 17 standard cycles, providing critical care to wounded and displaced populations in the volatile border regions of the Orion Arm. "Incoming energy signature," whispered Marcus Chen, the ship's senior sensor technician. His fingers danced across the holographic displays, transforming streams of raw data into visual representations that made Emily's blood run cold. Multiple contacts. They're not responding to standard hailing frequencies. The Nightingale was no ordinary hospital ship. Equipped with the most advanced medical technologies humanity had developed, it carried specialized treatment units capable of saving lives across multiple biological spectrums. Sophisticated regeneration chambers lined the port side, while xenobiological treatment wings occupied the starboard sections. Each section represented years of collaborative research, diplomatic negotiations, and humanity's commitment to interstellar humanitarian aid. "Battle stations," Emily commanded, her voice calm despite the growing tension. Decades of medical training and emergency response protocols kicked in, transforming the medical bay into a precision instrument of survival. Automated systems began securing sensitive equipment, while medical staff initiated emergency protocols developed for the most extreme scenarios. The first weapon discharge illuminated the observation windows with a brilliant, sickening green. Emily watched in horror as the energy beam, a technology far beyond standard combat specifications, sliced through the Nightingale's primary shield grid. The ship's defensive systems, considered state-of-the-art just months ago, crumbled like ancient paper against the Zarkon assault. "Multiple patients in critical condition," reported Specialist Rachel Thompson, her voice steady despite the alarms screaming around her. "We're looking at potential total loss in sections 3 through 7 if we can't stabilize the medical containment fields." Emily's mind raced. The patients they were treating represented a cross-section of galactic conflict: wounded soldiers from 3 different star systems, civilian refugees from a dozen collapsed colonies, and critical medical research specimens that could potentially save entire species from genetic collapse. Each life represented more than just a medical challenge. They were living testaments to the complex, interconnected nature of galactic existence. The ship shuddered again. This was no random attack. The precision of the Zarkon assault suggested something far more calculated than a typical military engagement. They were systematically destroying the Nightingale's critical systems with a surgical accuracy that suggested a deeper, more sinister motivation. "Emergency evacuation protocols," Emily ordered, her fingers flying across the medical bay's central control panel. Specialized escape pods began deploying, each one a self-contained medical unit designed to preserve life under the most extreme conditions. Patients too critical to move were secured into quantum stabilization chambers, advanced technology that could potentially preserve their biological integrity even under direct assault. Marcus Chen's voice cut through the controlled chaos. "They're jamming our long-range communications. Standard emergency frequencies are being blocked." His hands moved with a desperate speed, attempting to find any method of transmitting their situation to nearby vessels or Earth's distant command centers. The Nightingale represented more than just a medical vessel. It was a symbol of humanity's commitment to interstellar cooperation, a floating testament to the idea that medical intervention could transcend political boundaries. Now that symbol was being systematically dismantled by an enemy whose motivations remained frustratingly unclear. Another impact rocked the ship. Emily caught herself against a medical storage unit, her eyes never leaving the patients she had sworn to protect. The escape pods continued their desperate launch, each one a tiny beacon of hope against the overwhelming Zarkon assault. In that moment, Lieutenant Commander Emily Harrison understood something profound. This was not just an attack on a hospital ship. This was an assault on everything humanity had fought to represent in the vast, often brutal expanse of galactic civilization. The Nightingale would not go quietly. Whatever came next, humanity would ensure that this moment would be remembered. The ship continued to break apart around her, but Emily Harrison remained resolute. Some battles are fought with weapons. Some are fought with hope. This would be both. Captain Michael Rodriguez drifted in the darkness of space, his escape pod systems operating on minimal power. The quantum burst transmitter flickered weakly, a lifeline tethering his broken body to humanity's vast communication network. Blood and medical sealant coated his uniform, a testament to the brutal assault that had reduced the Nightingale to quantum-scattered debris. The medical pod's autodock worked frantically, nanite systems weaving through his damaged tissues. Fractured ribs, a punctured lung, and multiple internal injuries told the story of a survival that bordered on the miraculous. Rodriguez's cybernetic eye, a standard-issue enhancement for Deep Space Command officers, recorded every moment of his testimony, ensuring that even if he didn't survive, the truth would. Back on Earth, in the cavernous underground communication hub beneath the United Planetary Defense Complex, Director Sarah Williams watched the incoming transmission with a mixture of horror and calculated fury. The quantum burst signal cut through layers of encryption, its compression algorithms a marvel of human technological innovation that would make most alien civilizations weep with technological inadequacy. "Enhance Quadrant 7, Williams commanded, her voice cutting through the ambient noise of hundreds of communication specialists. Holographic displays shifted, revealing microscopic details of Rodriguez's recorded testimony. Every frame, every pixel became a potential piece of evidence. The captain's voice crackled to life, raw and unfiltered. This was no accident. Rodriguez began, his damaged lungs causing each word to be a struggle. The Zarkon didn't just attack our ship. They hunted us, systematically, with a level of precision that suggests something far beyond a standard military engagement. His cybernetic eye began projecting recorded imagery, fragments of the attack captured in those final, horrific moments. Zarkon battlecruisers moving with a choreographed brutality that suggested something more than standard combat protocols. Weapon systems that bypassed standard medical ship defenses with impossible accuracy. They knew exactly what they were doing, Rodriguez continued. Our medical databases, our patient records, the xenobiological research we were carrying. All of it was a targeted strike. In the communication hub, Dr. James Peterson, Earth's leading xenobiological research coordinator, leaned forward. The implications were staggering. The Nightingale hadn't just been carrying routine medical supplies. Hidden within its medical databases were breakthrough research projects that could revolutionize interstellar medicine. Genetic reconstruction techniques that could potentially resurrect extinct species. Adaptive immune system modifications that could protect entire planetary populations from previously incurable genetic disorders. Research that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galactic medical community. Confirm transmission integrity, Director Williams ordered. A junior technician ran a series of quantum-level verification protocols. The transmission was clean, unaltered. A raw, unfiltered account of humanity's most significant medical vessel being systematically destroyed. Rodriguez's testimony continued, each word carefully chosen. They executed survivors, not just combatants, patients, medical personnel. Even the damn cleaning robots were systematically destroyed. His cybernetic eye projected additional imagery. Medical staff attempting to protect patients, escape pods being targeted with surgical precision. The quantum burst transmission carried more than just video and audio. Embedded within its compressed data streams were multiple layers of forensic information. Weapon signatures, energy discharge patterns, quantum-level spatial coordinates that would allow Earth's most advanced military analysts to reconstruct the entire attack with terrifying accuracy. Director Williams understood the deeper game being played. This wasn't just about collecting evidence. This was about sending a message. to the Zarkon, to the Galactic Confederation, to every species watching. Humanity would not be silent. "Transmission complete," a technician announced. But both Williams and Rodriguez knew this was far from over. The quantum burst signal terminated, leaving behind a wealth of data that would become the spark of humanity's most significant military response in galactic history. Captain Michael Rodriguez, drifting in his damaged escape pod, allowed himself a single moment of grim satisfaction. They would know. They would understand. Humanity was coming. The Galactic Confederation's central chamber resembled an architectural nightmare, a massive spherical room designed to showcase the diversity of galactic civilizations, while simultaneously ensuring nothing of actual consequence would ever be accomplished. Ambassador Thomas Chen of Earth stood alone, a solitary human figure surrounded by a semicircle of alien representatives whose collective indifference could freeze a star. Holographic displays flickered with Captain Rodriguez's testimony, each frame a damning piece of evidence that seemed to slide off the consciousness of the assembled delegates like water off a quantum-treated surface. The Zarkon delegation, led by High Diplomat Krelax, moved with a serpentine grace that barely concealed their underlying aggression. "The United Earth government presents unverified evidence," Krelax stated, his translation matrix producing a voice that was simultaneously smooth and grating. "A single damaged escape pod. Fragmentary recordings. These are not sufficient to..." Ambassador Chen interrupted, a move so unexpected that several alien representatives actually shifted in their seats. "Unverified." His voice carried the quiet intensity of someone who knew exactly what was at stake. "We have precise quantum-level forensic data. Weapon discharge signatures, spatial coordinates that map the entire assault with mathematical precision." The chamber fell silent. The holographic displays began to change. No longer were they showing Rodriguez's testimony. Instead, they revealed a three-dimensional reconstruction of the Nightingale's final moments. Each weapon discharge, each system failure, was displayed with clinical precision. Colors shifted from cool blues to angry reds, telling a story of systematic destruction that no diplomatic doublespeak could erase. Dr. Emily Harrison's final video log played in the background. Her calm demeanor, even in the moments of ultimate crisis, spoke volumes. She wasn't just reporting an attack. She was documenting a war crime with the precision of a medical professional recording a critical case study. Behind the scenes, Earth's diplomatic corps was anything but passive. While ambassadors spoke, a complex network of communication specialists, military strategists, and sinopolitical experts worked with machine-like efficiency. Every alien communication was analyzed, every diplomatic channel probed for potential leverage. High Counselor Grentok of the Syndicate Worlds leaned forward, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the chamber's artificial light. "The evidence is compelling," he admitted, a statement that sent ripples through the assembled delegates. The Zarkon delegation produced their counter-narrative with practiced ease. Fabricated sensor logs suggested the Nightingale was transporting prohibited weapons. Doctored communication transcripts implied a covert military operation. Each piece of evidence was a carefully constructed lie, beautiful in its complexity, devastating in its implications. But humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Ambassador Chen activated a secondary holographic display. Forensic linguists had spent weeks analyzing the Zarkon's submitted evidence. Now they revealed their findings. Microscopic inconsistencies, quantum-level translation anomalies, digital artifacts that proved beyond any reasonable doubt that the evidence had been artificially constructed. "You fabricated these records," Chen stated, not as an accusation, as a fact. The chamber seemed to hold its breath. Dr. James Peterson, who had accompanied Chen as a scientific advisor, stepped forward. His presentation began to reveal the true nature of the Nightingale's mission. Not just a medical vessel, but a critical research platform carrying breakthrough technologies that could revolutionize medical treatment across multiple species. This was not a military target, Peterson explained. This was a targeted assault on medical research that could save billions of lives across the galaxy. Krulax's diplomatic veneer began to crack. The carefully constructed narrative was unraveling, thread by delicate thread. But the true power wasn't in the evidence, it was in humanity's response. Military ships began moving into strategic positions around Confederation space, not as an invasion force, but as a clear, unequivocal statement. Humanity would not be ignored. Humanity would not be silenced. The bureaucratic nightmare was about to become something else entirely. A reckoning. The transformation began in Silicon Valley, where the first quantum fusion laboratories activated with a low, resonant hum that seemed to pulse through the very foundations of human technological infrastructure. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, cousin to the now famous Captain Michael Rodriguez, stood before a holographic display that represented something far more than a mere weapons system. Quantum entanglement weapon networks, he explained to a gathered group of military and scientific leaders, are no longer a theoretical concept. They're our response. Across the planet, every major city became a war production marvel. In Detroit, automated factories that had once produced civilian vehicles now churned out next-generation warship components with machine-like precision. Shanghai's research universities redirected entire departments toward advanced propulsion and defensive technologies. Moscow's cybernetic research centers began integrating biological and mechanical systems at a pace that would have been impossible just months earlier. The global draft was unlike anything in human history. It wasn't about conscription. It was about mobilization. Tech workers, medical professionals, engineers, and scientists weren't just supporting the war effort. They were the war effort. In orbit, the United Earth Defense Research Station began integrating experimental systems that had been kept in careful hibernation. Plasma compression drives that could compress entire stellar distances into moments of travel. Adaptive AI combat networks that could predict and neutralize threats before they fully manifested. Quantum shielding technologies that could theoretically withstand direct hits from weapons that would vaporize conventional military hardware. Captain Emily Harrison, now recovered from her injuries on the Nightingale, found herself at the center of a transformation. Her medical research, combined with her first-hand experience of the attack, became a crucial component of humanity's response strategy. It's not just about building weapons, she told a gathered strategy council. It's about creating a comprehensive defense ecosystem that can protect and respond. The global economic system restructured itself with shocking speed. Corporations that had previously competed now merged their most advanced technologies. Research grants that would have taken years to approve were now processed in hours. The entire planet moved with a unified purpose that defied traditional understanding of human organizational capabilities. In the underground research facilities beneath the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, Dr. James Peterson unveiled the most revolutionary aspect of humanity's response. The experimental technologies weren't just about destruction. They were about total systemic defense. Our quantum entanglement communication networks, Peterson explained, can now predict potential conflict vectors with 97.3% accuracy. We're not just preparing to fight. We're preparing to prevent. Prototype ships began to take shape. They were nothing like the traditional military vessels of other galactic civilizations. Each was a living, adaptive system, part machine, part advanced artificial intelligence, part biological integration, weapon systems that could think, defensive networks that could learn and adapt in microseconds. The global population's response was equally remarkable. There were no riots, no panic. Instead, a cold, calculated determination settled over human civilization. Social media platforms became information exchange networks. Universities redirected research. Every sector of human society began to move with a precision that suggested something more than simple military preparation. This was a species-level response. In orbit, the first of the new defense fleet began to assemble. Each ship was a marvel of engineering that would have been considered science fiction just months earlier. Quantum phase drives that could theoretically move faster than light. adaptive camouflage systems that could render entire vessels invisible across multiple spectrums, weapon systems that could target and neutralize threats across multiple dimensional layers. Captain Michael Rodriguez, still recovering from his injuries, became an unexpected symbol of humanity's resolve. His testimony, combined with the scientific and military response, transformed public sentiment from shock to a unified, calculated determination. The Zarkon had made a critical mistake. They had awakened something far more dangerous than a military force. They had awakened humanity's true potential, and the galaxy would never be the same. The void between star systems erupted with silent violence as the United Earth Defense Fleet emerged from quantum shadow. Captain Michael Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the flagship Nightingale's Vengeance, his cybernetic eye scanning tactical displays that transformed space itself into a three-dimensional battlefield of impossible complexity. 217 ships materialized simultaneously, a coordinated strike that defied every known principle of spacefaring warfare. Each vessel was more than a mere weapon of war. They were living systems, adaptive networks of artificial intelligence and human determination that moved with a unity impossible for any other species to comprehend. Target acquisition complete, announced Lieutenant Sarah Chen, her fingers dancing across holographic control interfaces. The ship's quantum entanglement communication network meant that every vessel moved as a single, collective organism. No traditional command structures, no delayed response times. Pure, instantaneous coordination that made the Zarkon fleet look like children playing with primitive toys. The first wave of attacks wasn't about destruction. It was about surgical precision. Zarkon orbital defense platforms began to go dark. Not explosions, not traditional weapon impacts. Simple, complete system neutralization. Quantum-level hacking that didn't just disable systems, it rewrote their fundamental operational parameters. Entire networks collapsed without a single visible weapon discharge. Communication nodes are going offline, Chen reported. Her voice carried no excitement, no traditional battle enthusiasm. This was clinical, professional, a response carefully calibrated to send a message that transcended simple military engagement. Rodriguez watched as the tactical displays revealed the true nature of humanity's response. They weren't just attacking. They were systematically dismantling the Zarkon's entire military infrastructure with mathematical precision. Strategic resource nodes began to disappear from long-range scanners. Not destroyed. Simply removed. As if they had never existed. The quantum-level weapon systems could target with such precision that entire military installations could be erased without disturbing a single molecule of surrounding space. Dr. Emily Harrison, now serving as the fleet's chief medical and xenobiological strategist, monitored biological systems. Her role wasn't traditional. She was tracking the psychological impact of the assault as carefully as the physical one. Zarkon command structures are experiencing total systemic shock, she observed. Her analysis wasn't just about immediate military effectiveness. It was about understanding the deeper psychological warfare being waged. The Nightingale's Vengeance moved through space like a predator, but not a brutal, mindless predator. This was an intelligent, calculated system that understood every nuance of its environment. Quantum phase drives allowed instantaneous repositioning that defied traditional understanding of space and time. Weapon systems that could predict and neutralize threats before they even fully manifested. Adaptive shielding that could reconfigure molecular structures faster than any known scanning system could track. Multiple Zarkon fleet concentrations identified, announced the ship's primary tactical eye. Not a computer. An intelligence that was part machine, part human strategy, part something entirely new. Rodriguez understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about total destruction. This was about sending a message that would resonate across the entire galactic civilization. Humanity would defend its principles with overwhelming force, but it would do so with a precision that bordered on the surgical. Entire Zarkon communication networks went silent, not through brute force, through an almost elegant dismantling of their technological infrastructure. Each system was neutralized so precisely that it would take years for the Zarkon to even understand how completely they had been outmaneuvered. Psychological impact projections are tracking exactly as predicted, Dr. Harrison reported. The assault wasn't just physical. It was a comprehensive demonstration of technological superiority that would reshape galactic understanding of human capabilities. The first strike was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had awoken, and it was magnificent. The Galactic Research Consortium's primary observation station hung in the void of space like a massive crystalline spider, its sensors trained on the unfolding conflict between humanity and the Zarkon. Chief Scientist Dr. Lydia Nakamura watched in stunned silence as the data streams revealed something beyond mere technological superiority. It was a fundamental reimagining of warfare. Holographic displays tracked the human fleet's movements, if movements could even describe what was happening. Each United Earth vessel operated with a level of coordination that defied traditional understanding of military engagement. They weren't just ships, they were living, thinking systems that seemed to anticipate threats before they could even be conceived. "This is impossible," muttered Dr. Heinrich Müller, a veteran xenotechnological analyst. His entire career had been built on understanding advanced alien technologies. Now, everything he knew was being dismantled in real time. The quantum entanglement communication networks deployed by the human fleet represented a leap in technological understanding that made previous galactic communication systems look like primitive smoke signals. Each ship was simultaneously a weapon, a communication hub, and an adaptive intelligence network that could reconfigure itself faster than most species could process a single thought. Captured sensor logs revealed the true depth of human technological innovation. Weapon systems that could predict and neutralize threats across multiple dimensional layers. Adaptive camouflage that didn't just hide ships. It could fundamentally alter their quantum signatures, making them invisible not just to sensors, but to the very fabric of space-time. Dr. Emily Harrison's medical research played a crucial role. The same biological understanding that had advanced human medical technologies now formed the core of their military adaptive systems. Quantum-level biological computing that could think, learn, and adapt with a speed that bordered on the miraculous. They're using medical research as a foundation for military technology, Dr. Nakamura observed, her voice a mixture of horror and profound respect. The biological adaptive systems are treating warfare like a complex medical intervention. Zarkon communication intercepts revealed growing panic. Their most advanced military analysts struggled to comprehend the human response. It wasn't just that human technology was superior. It was fundamentally different, a completely new paradigm of technological understanding. Quantum phase drives allowed human vessels to reposition themselves with such precision that traditional concepts of space and movement became meaningless. A human ship could be in multiple potential locations simultaneously, its quantum state so finely tuned that it could choose its optimal positioning faster than an enemy could process the initial threat. Captain Michael Rodriguez's cybernetic systems represented the perfect fusion of biological and technological capabilities. His enhanced neural network could process tactical information at speeds that made traditional AI look like rudimentary calculating machines. Each decision was a complex mathematical dance of probability, strategy, and intuitive understanding. The Nightingale's vengeance became more than a flagship. It was a living demonstration of humanity's technological potential. Weapon systems that could target threats across multiple dimensional layers. Adaptive shielding that could reconfigure molecular structures faster than any known scanning system could track. Smaller civilizations watching the conflict began to understand something profound. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were something entirely new. A technological evolution that had been quietly developing while other civilizations played their political games. Dr. Nakamura's team continued to analyze the data streams. Each moment revealed new layers of complexity. The human fleet wasn't just fighting. They were conducting a comprehensive demonstration of technological capabilities that would reshape galactic understanding. It's like watching the difference between a mechanical calculator and a quantum supercomputer, Dr. Mueller muttered, his entire worldview crumbling with each passing moment. The Zarkon had made a critical mistake. They had believed humanity was just another species to be conquered. Instead, they had awakened a technological force that would redefine the very concept of interstellar conflict. And the galaxy would never be the same. The conflict entered its most critical phase in the disputed Sigma Quadrant, a region of space that had long been a pressure point between multiple galactic civilizations. Here, the true nature of humanity's response would be defined not just by military might, but by a complex understanding of interstellar dynamics that few species could comprehend. Admiral Thomas Chen stood on the bridge of the Diplomatic Hammer, a command vessel that was as much a diplomatic platform as a weapon of war. His team represented the most sophisticated integration of military strategy, diplomatic expertise, and technological innovation humanity had ever assembled. Incoming transmission from liberation groups, reported Lieutenant Sarah Martinez, her fingers dancing across quantum-encrypted communication interfaces. The smaller civilizations that had long suffered under Zarkon oppression were watching. Not just observing, they were preparing to make their move. Dr. Emily Harrison's xenobiological analysis team had done more than just prepare for conflict. They had laid the groundwork for a comprehensive liberation strategy. Medical research databases became intelligence networks. Humanitarian aid protocols transformed into sophisticated communication channels that connected oppressed populations across multiple star systems. The Zarkon had made a critical error. They hadn't just attacked a hospital ship. They had attacked the one vessel that represented humanity's most profound principle, that life, in all its diverse forms, was sacred. Smaller civilizations began to move, not as a unified military force, but as a network of resistance that had been waiting for a spark of hope. Quantum communication networks, subtly enhanced by human technological interventions, allowed for coordination that defied traditional military understanding. Resistance movements on Zarkon-controlled worlds are activating, Lieutenant Martinez reported. The communication wasn't just about sharing information. It was a complex dance of encrypted data, medical support protocols, and strategic guidance. Captain Michael Rodriguez monitored the broader strategic picture. The human fleet wasn't just destroying Zarkon military infrastructure. They were systematically dismantling the oppressive systems that had kept entire populations subjugated for generations. Quantum-level hacking became a form of surgical intervention. Communication networks were reprogrammed. Supply chains were redirected. Economic systems were fundamentally restructured with a precision that made traditional military conquest look like a crude hammer strike. Dr. James Peterson's research team had prepared for this moment. Humanitarian aid packages began to appear in strategic locations, not traditional military supplies, advanced medical technologies, educational systems, communication infrastructure that could rebuild entire planetary ecosystems. We're not just fighting a war, Admiral Chen explained to his senior staff. We're conducting a comprehensive system restoration. The Nightingale's Vengeance and its accompanying fleet moved with a coordinated grace that seemed to defy the traditional understanding of military engagement. Each ship was a living system, part weapon, part communication hub, part humanitarian support platform. Zarkon military leadership found themselves fighting a war on impossible fronts. Their communication networks were compromised. Their economic systems were being systematically restructured. Resistance movements they had spent generations suppressing were now rising with unprecedented coordination. Dr. Emily Harrison's medical research became a weapon more powerful than any traditional armament. Advanced medical technologies were deployed to liberate populations. Genetic restoration projects began to heal generations of oppression. Each intervention was a precise, calculated strike against the Zarkon's fundamental infrastructure. Multiple Zarkon agricultural and medical supply networks have been redirected, Lieutenant Martinez reported. The intervention wasn't just about military conflict. It was about comprehensive system restoration. Smaller civilizations began to understand something profound. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species engaged in traditional conflict. They were conducting a comprehensive restoration of interstellar ecosystems. The hospital ship attack had been a critical miscalculation. They had awakened a force that understood war was more than destruction. It was about rebuilding, healing, restoring, and the galaxy would never be the same. The final resolution came not with a thunderous military victory, but with a calculated dismantling that redefined the very concept of interstellar conflict. United Earth Station Alpha, a massive diplomatic and reconstruction hub, became the epicenter of a transformation that would reshape galactic civilization. Captain Michael Rodriguez stood beside Admiral Thomas Chen, both watching as representatives from dozens of liberated civilizations gathered. The room was a testament to humanity's true strength, not its weapons, but its capacity for comprehensive restoration. Dr. Emily Harrison presented the first comprehensive report. It wasn't a military assessment. It was a detailed analysis of systemic healing, how the intervention had not just defeated the Zarkon, but had fundamentally restructured entire planetary ecosystems. "We didn't just win a war," she explained, her voice carrying the calm precision of a medical professional. "We conducted a comprehensive biological and social reconstruction. The Zarkon leadership had been systematically neutralized, but not destroyed. Instead, they were placed under a unique form of rehabilitation that was part diplomatic intervention, part medical reconstruction, part social engineering." Dr. James Peterson's Social research team had developed intervention protocols that went far beyond traditional peacekeeping. Advanced neural recalibration technologies, developed initially for treating complex traumatic injuries, were now being used to address generations of systemic oppression. "It's not about punishment," Peterson explained to the gathered representatives. "It's about fundamental systemic healing." Lieutenant Sarah Martinez managed the communication networks that had become the true battlefield. Quantum encrypted channels continued to support liberation movements, providing educational resources, medical support, and economic restructuring tools to populations that had been oppressed for generations. The Nightingale's vengeance became a symbol of something far more profound than military might. It was transformed into a mobile research and reconstruction platform, traveling between previously controlled systems, bringing advanced medical technologies, educational systems, and comprehensive support infrastructures. Admiral Chen understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about preventing future conflicts by addressing their fundamental root causes. Zarkon worlds received comprehensive support. Advanced medical technologies restored populations decimated by generations of oppressive rule. Educational systems were rebuilt from the ground up. Economic infrastructures were redesigned to prevent the reemergence of oppressive power structures. "We're not conquerors," Captain Rodriguez told a group of skeptical alien representatives. "We're system architects." The quantum-level communication networks developed during the conflict became the foundation of a new galactic communication infrastructure. Faster than light, more secure than any previous system, they connected populations that had been isolated for generations. Dr. Harrison's medical research teams began comprehensive genetic restoration projects. Populations that had been genetically suppressed or manipulated were given the opportunity for complete genetic rehabilitation. It was more than medical treatment. It was a form of species-level healing. The economic impact was equally profound. Human reconstruction teams didn't just rebuild. They implemented advanced economic models that prevented the concentration of power that had led to the Zarkon's rise. "We're not interested in revenge," Admiral Chen explained during a pivotal diplomatic session. "We're interested in preventing the conditions that create conflict." The Nightingale's original mission, humanitarian aid, became the fundamental principle of the reconstruction effort. Every intervention was calculated. Every action designed to support long-term stability. Smaller civilizations began to understand something profound. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were a comprehensive problem-solving force that approached conflict with a level of nuance that defied traditional understanding. A hospital ship attack had been a critical miscalculation by the Zarkon. They had believed humanity could be intimidated. Instead, they had awakened a civilization that understood true strength wasn't about destruction. It was about healing, rebuilding, understanding. As the reconstruction efforts continued, a new understanding emerged. The galaxy had changed, not through conquest, but through a fundamental reimagining of what civilization could be. Humanity had shown its true nature, and the universe would never be the same.